These films have a very strange obsession with penis and phallic symbols and weird titles that could be misconstrued as dick jokes and stuff like that. It's very strange. I don't really understand it.
Her name is Rio and she dances on the sand.
28 years later, The Bone Temple is the fourth 28 blank laters film in the series, helmed mainly by Alex Garland as writer and Danny Boyle usually as director, although in this case as producer, with Nia DaCosta as director in her fifth directorial outing, and with a very, very strong British cast. Ralph Fiennes, Jack O'Connell, Alfie Williams, Emma Laird, Erin Kellyman, so on and so forth. A really, really stellar cast, strong behind-the-scenes conglomerate of creatives that I think have put together in this film one of the best bodies of works in a British film for quite some time, and it is in a abstract sense one of the deepest films that I've seen in a while, whilst still having great fun.
You suck!
That enhances and evolves on this new trilogy of films that we're getting, whilst also respecting the rules that was established in the first and second film. And what I find so great from the ground up about these two films together is that they have not gone and rewritten all of the rules of the first two films entirely. They have retconned some of the plot details of the second film, but they have respected what came before it and also evolved and changed it in a way that is so seamless and feels planned, despite the fact that we know that this sequel trilogy was something that came together in the last couple years rather than something that has been planned for 25 years. And I really love these two films, and I think that whatever this third film is going to be, it is going to be some of the best British shit in a good while.
Finally, some good fucking food.
These two films as a double bill feature so well together because they show two different sides of a coin of British filmmaking. One of those is very dynamic, very fast-paced entertainment that is reminiscent of street hooligan films, football films, and high-octane action films. And the other side of that is very philosophical, abstract, focused more on the nature of life and what is life about, very much about what is the nature of being a British person in the 21st century after the loss of role in wider politics, the wider world, wider global society. The UK is not a country that wields influence in these spheres, and as such, the role of being a British person is very smaller, and in many senses we have as a country faced an existential crisis about what it means to be British and what it means to work for the progress of your country. And in this film particularly, we get a lamentation on religious culture, which is something that the UK has had a very long history of reckoning with. We also get a reckoning on famehood and cultish behaviour and celebrity and who you trust in society and what it means for you as a person about who you trust, and whether or not who you trust influences your actions, or whether or not who you trust and who you put your faith in is a reflection of your desire to remove yourself from your actions, or whether your decision to put your faith in someone is honest and a reflection of your deep sense of belonging to a community. All of these questions are here in this deeply philosophical film, and a lot of the credit for this film, I think, has to be put on the shoulders of Alex Garland. A expertly crafted film in terms of the philosophical and the abstract sense, and majorly, this film in its plot structure takes a nosedive in some sense from the first film. It's very, very different. There isn't a lot that actually happens. It's very slow. It's very plotting. It's a lot more about its characters sat around and discussing things and discussing the nature of life. It removes the apocalyptic factor almost entirely from its plot. Zombies don't feature pretty much at all in this film. It's a lot more about what does it mean to take part in an apocalyptic society. It's written to an absolute T, but also its cast deals with these ideas in such a interesting way, and they never make these ideas feel like we're just sat here discussing these things. We're just sat here discussing the nature of life in the afterlife. We're just sat here discussing religion and what do I do if I've done wrong and I want to be a better person. They never make the conversations feel like they're overbearing and they're actually abstract and philosophical. It just kind of feels like everyday conversations to these people, because that's kind of the nature of being in an apocalypse, is you're kind of second guessing yourself continuously about, am I a good person? Why am I doing this? Is it necessary? Is it really necessary? It's a lot to deal with and to grasp with less than 24 hours on from watching this film. But I'm really trying to parse through my thoughts a lot. Nia DaCosta is someone that I think has a great capture of several things in her direction style, but she has struggled in her previous outings, mainly because she has written most of her films, and I think her films have struggled to weave a cohesive narrative and to have very interesting characters as well. With that being said, I think taking the role of writer away from her in this film, as well as putting a cast and crew around her that is incredibly talented and is incredibly experienced, has benefited her in this film and has allowed her to focus entirely on what she wanted to do with her direction, what she wanted to do with the tone and the atmosphere. And it pays off dividends and really shows her direction at its best for what it is that she is so good at, which is setting a tone, which is setting an atmosphere, which is a very controlled, calm use of the camera, and is a very great selection of musical pieces that I think is very reminiscent of Scorsese, Coppola, these kinds of directors, old school 70s directors who focus very heavily on music and how this weaves into the narrative. Music features very heavily in this film. Iron Maiden, Duran Duran, these artists feature very heavily, and she makes some very strong choices in my opinion with who she chooses to feature. And what we lose from the first film is Danny Boyle's dynamism with the camera, and what we replace it with is this very controlled, calm, and almost not moving for long periods of time in this film. And it reflects the change in narrative structure. It reflects a change in plot and how the story in the first film is a lot more fast-paced and kinetic, and this one is a lot calmer and is a lot more grounded. This is about sitting down and conversing, and the choice to switch directors in that case is such a smart decision in my opinion, because I don't think that this story lends to a fast-paced kinetic environment and direction style, despite the fact that I keep saying that this film is so calm and controlled and tonally is so serious. What she also does with the atmosphere of this film is really great. She manages to make this apocalypse feel deeply scary and terrifying and a real horror atmosphere. I don't really feel typically a sense of fear with the 28 series, but I did with this one, and that is just because of the calmness of the camera. It's the calmness that she instills on set. It's the fact that the camera doesn't move and it kind of just stays and focuses on these one angles, and it focuses you. It kind of just sit there and go, okay, what am I looking at? And she also has this very fast-paced heartbeat in some of her action sequences that really, really gives you an anxious feeling and is letting you know this is the tense moment. This is the moment when you should be like, all right, something's about to fucking happen now. And I'm really, really happy for Nia DaCosta with this film. I think it's a really, really great encapsulation of what she does as a director that is so dynamic. Her sense of tone, her sense of atmosphere, her music choice, her calmness with a camera, it's all here, and taking the script away from her and taking it out of her hands and telling her, don't worry about that. We just want you to direct the film. I think that's a choice that pays dividends here, and ultimately I think she can still be a good writer. I think she has some very interesting choices in some of her screenplays that she's written previously, particularly Candyman and The Marvels. I think she has a capture of tone in those screenplays that I think is very, very pervasive. She's able to shift between happy-go-lucky and comedic to horror very well. In this film, she does that as well. She shifts so quickly between comedy and horror, and that's so hard to do a lot of the time for a lot of directors, and she does it so seamlessly here. I also, very quickly, I will give a shout out to the cast because I think that a lot of these performances are excellent. Ralph Fiennes just continues to just do what he does, which is that he's an excellent actor, one of the best British actors ever, if not the best. I think that is a worthy statement to put a lot of weight behind. I think Jack O'Connell continues to be one of the best actors of the past 10 years to come out of the UK. Alfie Williams is the one disappointment I will say from this film. He takes a real backstep in this film. He's not in the film as much, and there's not really much character development for him in this, and I was kind of disappointed by that because he's such a bright spark and such a revelation in that first film, and he doesn't really have much to do in this. But my assumption is that in that third film, that is really going to be all about him and is going to be about his growth as a human and his growth into a fully fledged man. I think that this film is excellent. There's a case to be made that this is probably the best British film to come out in a good number of years. I'm not sure what else you would put up there with it. Probably the first 28 years later, maybe The King's Speech, The Darkest Hour, the James Bond films. I don't think in the past 10 years that field of British films has been flushed with very, very esteemed candidates. And this, to me, makes a very, very strong case for being one of the best films of the past decade. And the fan reaction to that, the critic reaction to that, showcases how strong this film is, how palpable this franchise has been, not just locally here in the Northeast and around Newcastle, but also nationally and internationally. This franchise, to me, is one of the best things to come out of the UK in the film world for a good while. And we need more like this in the UK. Not just films that are shot in the UK, but are actually American. We need actual British franchises, and we do not have enough like this. So, get the fuck on that.